slap didn't hurt her face. It hurt the lie she had been telling herself, that this man loved her. The room smelled of sweat and fear. The walls had learned her cries by heart. Even the ceiling fan turned slower, as if it didn't want to witness what was coming next. Outside, people called him a good man. Inside, he was something else. Inside, he was a woman beater. She tasted blood before she felt pain. It crept slowly, metallic and warm, spreading across her tongue as she kept her eyes on the floor. She had learned long ago that eye contact was an invitation. The floor was safer. The floor never asked questions. The floor never raised its hand. He stood over her, breathing hard, fists clenched like he was still deciding whether to finish what he started. His shadow swallowed her whole, turning her into something smaller than herself. "Look at what you made me do," he said. Those words were familiar. They had lived in this house longer than happiness ever did. She didn't cry. Crying only angered him more. Tears, he said, were manipulation. Silence was obedience. So she stayed quiet, pressing her lips together, holding her breath, holding herself, holding on to whatever part of her was still alive. Somewhere down the street, a generator hummed, a dog barked. Life went on as if nothing was happening here, as if a woman wasn't shrinking into herself to survive another night. People always said she was lucky. Lucky to have a husband who worked hard. Lucky to have a roof over her head. Lucky to be married at all. They didn't see the bruises hidden beneath long sleeves. They didn't hear the apologies whispered through clenched teeth. They didn't live inside the silence that screamed louder than any slap. He moved away, grabbed a chair and sat. That was his way of ending it, for now. She knew the routine. Violence first, calm later, then remorse dressed up as love. "Why do you push me?" he asked, shaking his head like he was the victim. "Why can't you just be a good woman?" She wanted to laugh. The sound rose in her throat, bitter and dangerous, so she swallowed it down. A good woman didn't talk back. A good woman endured. A good woman survived quietly. She stood slowly, careful not to make sudden movements. Her body ached, but she had learned how to carry pain like a secret. She moved toward the bedroom, each step heavy, as if the floor wanted to hold her back. "Where are you going?" he snapped. "To clean up," she replied softly. He grunted and looked away. Permission granted. In the bathroom, she locked the door and leaned against it, sliding down until she sat on the cold tiles. That was when the tears came, silent, violent. Her hands trembled as she touched her cheek, already swelling, already changing color. She stared at herself in the mirror. The woman looking back felt unfamiliar, older, tired, hollow. She tried to remember the girl she used to be, the one who laughed too loud, dreamed too big, believed love was enough. That girl felt like someone she once read about in a book, a character, fiction. She cleaned the blood from her lip, careful not to leave evidence. Evidence always led to questions. Questions led to shame. Shame led back to silence. She had asked herself 1,000 times why she stayed. Each time, the answer changed. Because she loved him. Because she had nowhere to go. Because leaving was dangerous. Because staying was familiar. Because fear had taught her that survival didn't always look like escape. The first time he hit her, he cried afterward, held her, promised it would never happen again. She believed him because believing felt easier than accepting the truth that the man she married was capable of hurting her. The second time, he blamed stress. The third time, he blamed her. After that, the reasons stopped mattering. Violence became routine, like morning prayers or evening meals. It arrived unannounced but expected, shaped her days, dictated her silence. At church, he held her hand and sang hymns loudly. People admired him. Some even said she was blessed. Blessed. If blessings felt like fear, then yes, she was blessed. At night, she lay awake beside him, staring at the ceiling, counting cracks, listening to his breathing, wondering how someone could sleep so peacefully after destroying another human. She started to disappear. Friends stopped calling. Family stopped visiting. Isolation wrapped around her like chains, heavy and invisible. He liked it that way. Said outsiders poisoned marriages, said loyalty meant silence, and she obeyed. Until one night, something shifted. It wasn't dramatic, no lightning, no shouting, just a quiet moment when she realized she no longer recognized her own reflection. She had been sweeping the living room when he walked in, drunk and angry. The slap came before the words this time. She fell, hitting her head on the table. For a second, the room spun, stars dancing in her vision. As she lay there, something inside her went still. Not fear, not pain, stillness. He yelled, kicked the chair, called her useless, weak, nothing. She listened like she always did, but his words slid off her this time, unable to find a place to land. It was as if her soul had stepped back to watch. That was the night she stopped begging. Not out loud, not visibly, just internally. She stopped hoping he would change. Hope had kept her trapped longer than fear ever did. Days passed, bruises healed, new ones formed. Life continued in its cruel rhythm, but inside her something grew, quiet, patient, dangerous. Awareness. She started noticing things, how he watched her, how he liked control more than love, how apologies were tools, how kindness only appeared when he needed forgiveness. She started noticing herself too, how she flinched at raised voices, how silence made her chest tight, how she felt more alive when he wasn't around. One afternoon, while he was out, she found herself standing in the doorway, keys in hand, heart racing. For a moment, freedom felt close enough to touch. Then fear spoke. Where will you go? Who will protect you? What if he finds you? She dropped the keys. Freedom retreated. That night, he came home angry again. Another slap, another shove, another apology. Something snapped. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She laughed. The sound startled both of them. What's wrong with you? He demanded. She wiped blood from her lip and looked at him. Really looked. Not the man she married. Not the image people praised. Just a small, broken soul addicted to power. You're scared, she said softly. He froze. The slap that followed was harder than any before. She fell, pain exploding through her body, but she smiled because she was right. He was terrified. Terrified of losing control, terrified of being seen, terrified that without her silence he was nothing. That realization was the beginning of the end. She didn't leave the next day or the next week. She stayed, watched, learned, prepared. Survival had taught her patience. She started saving money in small amounts, hidden carefully. She memorized his routines, noted his weaknesses, his tempers, his limits. She stopped provoking him, not out of submission, but strategy. At night, she whispered stories to herself, reminded herself she existed, that her life mattered, that her voice, even if unheard, was real. Sometimes, when the house was quiet, she imagined another life, one where fear wasn't furniture, one where love didn't hurt. Those moments felt like breathing fresh air after years underground. The final night came quietly. No shouting, no drinking, just a calm that felt unnatural. He sat on the couch, staring at her. Something in his eyes made her chest tighten. "You think you're better than me now," he said. She didn't respond. "I see it," he continued. "That look." She met his gaze, calm, unafraid. That was his mistake. The slap came, but she was ready. She didn't fall, didn't flinch. She stood there, absorbing it like a storm that had lost its power. He hesitated. That hesitation changed everything. She spoke then, voice steady, clear. "It ends tonight." He laughed. Then he realized she wasn't joking. What happened next would be whispered about for years. Neighbors would talk, stories would twist. Some would say she snapped,